Good morning and welcome back to those who are rejoining. And for those who are just able to get through, thank you for being patient with us and joining. We're going to have the panel brought up here in just a minute, but my name is Emily Weiser. I am the SVP of Integrated Sales. And if this is the second session for you guys, hopefully you got some really impactful things from that first one. The ladies were super inspirational. This second session is going to be a little bit different, right? So it's going to be an exciting panel of women again, but they're going to be sharing their own experiences on things like, navigating through work-life balance. Obviously, with the current pandemic, women are finding themselves having to choose or having to prioritize things in their lives on a daily basis. I know at least I am for sure. And so that's kind of causing them to leave the workplace. And specifically, obviously, in our industry, that's a really serious conversation. Luckily, Redwood's retention is doing really, really well this year. I think with the capabilities of, working remote and having some flexibility, it's been really great for us. So hopefully you'll get some great things out of this panel as well. So before we start, we're going to keep everyone muted again. Just the panel's going to be hopefully having no issues, no technical errors this time. We're going to do the Q&A at the end if we have time. So obviously, if you guys have questions, I know we weren't able to get to them the first round, but just put it in the little chat box and we will try to send out something afterwards to make sure we answer everyone's topics. We are, again, just another reminder, doing some fundraising for a super fabulous organization. I know you just saw another video. This organization does really exceptional things for women. So Redwood is going to make a gracious donation, but if you guys would like to donate yourselves, you can go to the site direct, or when the screen pops up at the end, you can make a donation on that QR bar. So let's hop right into our second panel. Elena, I see you. I'd like to introduce our moderator, Elena. She heads up our marketing team here at Redwood, and she obviously had a huge hand in planning this event. So thank you, and good morning, ladies.
Good morning. Hopefully you can hear and see me well. Very excited to be here. What a wonderful panel just now, so inspirational. And so it will be a tough act to follow for us, but we'll do our best. Similar to how we started the first panel, I would like to first go around the room and ask our panelists to come up with one word, but this time the word that I would like to ask for is, what best describes your leadership style? And so with that, we'll go around the Zoom and I will start by asking a question, but also giving you a little bit of a bio or introduction on our panelists. And first, I'd like to welcome Dima Adada. Dima is the founder and CEO of GetSet, an early-stage startup offering an innovative dynamic scheduling platform that allows to effectively manage inventory at the dock door. Prior to founding GetSet, Dima spent 12 years at high-growth logistics companies, including Uber Freight and Coyote, where she held leadership roles across the strategy and sales functions. Dima, welcome to the panel. What would be your one word that best describes your leadership style?
Yeah, first, I would like to thank you and the Redwood team for organizing this panel and bringing attention to women in logistics. It was very inspiring to listen to the first panel and hearing about their experience. I'm honored to be a part of this panel, so thank you. I would describe my leadership style as a pace setter.
All right, thank you very much. Next, I would like to welcome Anita Rajan to the panel. Anita is the global logistics leader at RPM International and has been in the logistics industry for over 18 years. She started her career with Cummins Engines, where she earned her Lean Six Sigma Black Belt certification. And she served in various leadership roles in supply chain with two big box retailers, Target and Lowe's. Anita, welcome to the panel. What would be your one word to describe your leadership style?
Thank you, Elena, and thanks to the Redwood team as well to host this event, support Dress for Success. That's an organization I'm very familiar with from my days at Cummins. They've supported a lot of people that I know, so very thankful for what you guys are doing here. The one word I would say is transparent.
All right, thank you very much for this. Next, I would like to welcome Anya Scheffers to the panel. Anya is a senior logistics manager at Leviton. Anya has over 14 years of experience in various supply chain roles, including Home Depot, and the start of her career in the consulting capacity. Anya, which word best describes how you perceive strong leadership?
Thank you, Elena. I just want to say, I also would like to say thanks to the Redwood team to have me be part of the panel and have the opportunity to talk to you today. And in terms of strong leadership and what I strive for on a daily basis, the one trait, 2 words, is emotional intelligence.
All right, that's a great one. And now we go to Patty Reeder. Patty, welcome to the panel. Patty is the Logistics Vice President and General Manager at G3, a Gallo family-owned company. Patty began her career at G3 as the Director of HR, but quickly transitioned to her current role in logistics. Prior to G3, Patty spent 7 years at Gallo Winery in finance, business analytics, sales, and operational planning roles. Patty, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. What would be your one word for your leadership style?
My word is invested. And it was fun hearing everyone else's words as well, because we didn't know what folks were going to say. So that was good. And thanks to everybody who's attending today, as well as the Redwood team.
Wonderful, thank you. So now let's do a deep dive. So we're going to go back to Dima, my neighbor here in San Francisco Bay. Dima, do tell us, why did you choose your word and how does that describe your leadership style?
Yeah, I think it comes from being a part of this industry. It's very fast-paced and quickly evolving from a technology perspective. I started with 2 very early stage companies that were leaders in technology, and we had to always be on our feet and moving quickly. So I think that kind of moved me into a more of a fast-paced leadership role and driving my team to be, very what's the word I was looking for, enthusiastic about solving problems and looking to think outside the box of what the role necessarily entails. So I believe that's why I feel strongly about being a pace setter and quick on my feet.
All right. Dima, you've spent some time at some prominent industry players earlier on with Coyote and then with Uber Freight, but now you're building something on your own. Can you share what prompted this new venture and how it is connected perhaps to the conversation we're having today?
Yeah. My background has always been in sales, very customer centric. I've worked closely with shippers from a strategic capacity over the course of my career. And, always experienced some of the same problems that seem to ail them, whether it be being able to perform from a service, a cost perspective, the agility to quickly find capacity or change network optimization, and working for companies that were, sourcing capacity. I really saw an opportunity with the technology we were developing to support that, but not to the extent where we could have a very large impact for any given shipper. So I identified an opportunity where we see, a lot of planning goes into the supply chain, where are we sourcing product, where are we sourcing capacity. But at the end of the day, it always seemed to fall apart when the driver or the facility had either fallen behind, ETAs, inventory, even labor shortages for the day. And I saw an opportunity to build a solution there that would really impact being able to improve the communication and being able to calibrate in real time those changes that are required. We see a ripple effect of almost 25% of capacity being held up due to dwell times at facilities, and GetSet is working to alleviate that and get more capacity on the road. I think both Uber and Coyote, were both innovators in technology, and that really allowed me to look at both, product development and opportunities for these shippers to get to where I'm at today.
All right. Now, sounds like you're working with a few remote teams in your new venture. Do you think remote work will bring more opportunities for women to join the workforce if they perhaps maybe weren't considering doing it before, or will it go the other way?
I'm glad you asked that. I think this year was very unique for businesses that had to move into a more remote model, and really, I think previously was looked at negatively for remote work. So I do think, one, we're going to see a lot more exciting opportunities that will be available in a remote or a hybrid aspect, both for independent contributors and even management roles. So there will be more opportunity for sure. But I do think that this year, having the opportunity to have worked remote both in a non-pandemic year and a pandemic year, I would like to say this year was very unique in the sense that it is not what remote work may always feel like. Some may have felt isolated or stretched very thin with families at home and having to manage more than you typically would. Me, myself, having my whole household home and finding a specific room to get an hour of quiet time on a call is, stressful. But I think that this will bring new opportunity for people to join the workforce. There will be less isolation, and I think more time for really focusing on the work that you're working on to become available. If you are organized, you can manage time, and you don't necessarily feel like you're going to miss out on the water cooler type conversations. Remote work is really a great opportunity to have that work-life balance. So I think that this was actually, a positive for the long run, having, more opportunity in the future.
That sounds very optimistic, and I tend to agree as well. So that's great to hear. Thank you so much, Dima. Now let's move to Anita in North Carolina. Anita, let's explore your word. Why did you choose it? How did it shape your leadership style?
Sure, yeah. Thank you, Elena. It's something that I've always believed in. Transparency is something that's very near and dear. It came from my young days. It came from watching my mom, for sure. I was fortunate amongst all my friends to have a working mom who had a career. She worked for the Indian government. She worked for the customs. Very male-dominated environment, but she stood up as a leader. She was very approachable, and it came because of her transparency, I think, reflecting today. She was very transparent. What you see is what you got from her. So sometimes I didn't like what I saw, but that's really how it started. And then as I got into the corporate world here, it came from one of my early mentors, Andy Yoder from Commons. He was my manager as well, and I was getting ready to walk into a manufacturing manager role where you manage shop floor employees. And it was not a union environment, but we operated almost like a union environment. And the one advice he gave me was, he said, say it like it is. If you don't say it like it is, they're going to find out. And that stuck with me all along. Until today, if people ask me for feedback or anything, it's just, I think, I just say it when I see things, and it has helped me build trust with my team. It has helped the teams that I've been associated with perform better, because feedback is important both ways. Recognition is important both ways. And the more we can share that, the more we can set clear expectations. I really think it'll take the teams to the next level overall.
I like it. Say it like it is.
Yeah.
I'll keep that one. Anita, the bulk of your professional career has been with big box retailers, right? Target, Lowe's. What was that experience like? What has it taught you? And what was it like to be perhaps the only woman in the room at times?
I would say a woman. I think both the companies, they've helped shape me into much more of a versatile woman leader, I would say. I found myself alone in the room more at one retailer versus the other. Every company is different. But we had a lot of opportunities. The first thing that comes to mind, even as a woman, was the infrastructure that was built for women around growth within those organizations. There was a natural feeling of, nurturing and support that came along. There was built-in mentorship programs, and there was an expectation at Target that within the first 18 months, you start planning for what your next role is going to be. It could be a lateral move. It could be a step down, step up. It doesn't matter. Go figure something out. And they really pushed the envelope on, you don't have to know everything to be in that role. My first transportation role, when I walked into Target, I didn't know how to spell transportation. So they gave me the confidence, and I was leading a transportation team there, and they just gave me the confidence, and they built me up to who I am today. And when I walked into Lowe's, and being a woman, I think there was a lot of leaders who were very supportive. They talked about servant leadership a lot at Lowe's, and it was about really managing down versus managing up was a big part of what some of the leadership and supply chain at Lowe's was. And they taught me to be a better human than being anything else. I think I owe it to both those companies. And I would say anybody early in your career, if you are thinking about walking into a big box retailer, keep your eyes open. It just takes, and go with an open heart too. It just, they take you to those next levels of leadership. And I'm really happy that I can bring all those to RPM today. And RPM is another company that I admire a lot. And I'm ever thankful for my recruiters who kind of convinced me that, I was ready for this next move with RPM, and thankful for the leadership that is continuing to help build me up along with the rest of the team. So yeah, overall, I think as a woman, it's really about what you pick and, just do those right things, pick the right advices from either it's a big box retail or manufacturing company, wherever you are. I would say just pick the right things and start blooming wherever you are planted. That makes a difference. And yeah, so I hope I answered your question, Elena.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. When we chatted earlier, you mentioned something that really stuck with me. You were talking about how you're very active with minority empowerment, diversity initiatives, with Black Lives Matter movement, bringing spotlight to this issue for all of us. Can you share how are you using your voice and power to bring change on these issues to your personal and professional communities?
Absolutely. That's a great question, Elena. I'm a part of a nonprofit board here in Charlotte called Framework for Future. It is empowering minority youth leaders. And since its inception, I've been a part of it and learned more about the challenges that the minority teams face, which, I think I'm a minority in more than one way, so I can definitely talk more about it. And the Black Lives Matter is very, very close to home for me. While all this was happening, I was at a friend's house. They're more like family to me. And her son had just graduated from high school. He was going out, of course, to party with his friends, and he had his hoodie on, and the mom, they're another minority family like us. The fear in the mom's eyes was very real, Elena. Like, she was scared. She's like, if a cop stops you, make sure you have your hands on your steering wheel, take your hoodie off, answer patiently. And I could see myself in her a few years from now when my son grows up, right? So that kind of impacted me that evening. I've talked about it a lot after that. That evening definitely impacted me. While I think the riots were unwarranted, the peaceful protests, I think, was really crying out loud for something that really, it's still sad that only a part of the community still understands it. We really have a lot of work to do in that space. We have extensive educational sessions with the minority youth leaders today. And we really, are collaborating more with the International Minority Coalition team, which is all the different minority groups in the Charlotte area. We meet with them frequently. We are trying to educate. We're trying to bring the rest of the community that is not as fortunate like the rest of us here, bring them up, make them better, so we don't have to face some of these things in the future. So that's something that we are currently doing. I'm just going to quick stop with a one-shot inspirational story that I've heard growing up in India, but I was super elated when one of our key leaders here at RPM shared it as one of his beliefs as well. It is a story of a little girl who was walking along a beach, and it was covered for thousands of miles with starfishes that were washed up in a storm. And whenever she came upon a starfish, she would pick it up and throw it back in the ocean. And there was an old man who was watching this up and said, little girl, there are too many of the starfish for you to make a difference. She immediately picked up another starfish. She threw it back in the sea and said, I made a difference on that one, did I not? So that can be that compounding effect on that small actions that we all make here as leaders, as women, as if there are men listening to the call, as men, as human beings. I think we can do a lot more for the community. I'm very proud of being a part of an organization that cares. RPM has done a lot for the local community in Ohio, as well as the pandemic hit, as the Black Lives Matter hit. Even before that, they work on a lot of things there as well. And I've offered to be a part of it. I'm still new to the, not relatively new, but, I'm still learning and trying to figure out how to professionally make an impact within the organization. But my ask for all the listeners here, don't ignore your low-income communities. Figure out how you go in and help them out as well. It's a very important part of who we are and what we owe to the country. So,
yeah, thank you. And thank you for a great story. I'm sure it will stick in my mind and in everybody's mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move to Anya in the great state of New York. Anya, emotional intelligence, huh? Care to share more? Why that phrase, and what does it mean for your leadership style?
Oh, sure, Elena. So for me, emotional intelligence means self-awareness and self-regulation. It's staying calm in the face of challenges. So for example, when you walk into a boardroom and it's all men and you may be the most junior person there, it's staying calm, confident, presenting data, and really driving the outcome that you desire. It's continuing to show information and show it in a way with confidence and calmness that can get you the outcome you want. It's also empathy. For example, one engagement I was recently involved in is working with an operations manager overseas. And I walked around my Melville office and just kind of got some feedback on this manager. And the talk that I got is, oh, well, he's difficult. He doesn't like change. Good luck. And you know what I did? The first thing I did is visit him on site and listen to him, listen to his concerns, document his processes, and reiterate over and over again that we're not there to make a change necessarily. We're just there to quantify operational activities that are happening. And then back home in Melville, I spent several months working closely with him, quantifying those activities and presenting possibilities that he could utilize. And you know what? After those months, the outcome was he changed. And we had a positive ROI, and we were able to reduce cost while maintaining service. So it's that kind of empathy and understanding where people are coming from without, not being a bull in the china shop that can get you results. To me, it's also social skills. I spend a lot of my time negotiating. I negotiate with logistics partners. I negotiate with carrier suppliers, and really internally, I negotiate a lot with different business leaders across the organization and different business groups. And you really have to have good social skills to overcome the resistance and bring about change. So that's, I think, what leadership is to me.
That's very inspiring. Thank you. Now, you've been lucky to be exposed to corporate cultures quite in a span of verticals, right? From L'Oreal Cosmetics to Home Depot. I'm sure that's quite a change. Have you noticed, though, any commonalities or disparities, if you want to mention, in light of our discussion today, right? And what were maybe some lessons learned from these cultures?
So I would say the one commonality I noticed across the different corporate cultures is the need to be able to work well with others. So one important lesson I learned is that when you're working in a team, working well with others is what gets you to deliver results. And when you're working in a team, it's focusing on solving the problem. And I think Dima said it in a different way, but it's thinking outside the box and focusing on solving the problem to the issue and not looking back and trying to place blame. It's working together. For example, mistakes happen, issues arise, and it's really coming in the room and, not trying to blame people, but identifying the root cause. It's really important to identify the root cause of what happened, but get to the facts and move on, and then work on the solution. It creates a positive atmosphere of working together, and it prevents focusing on negative feelings of who's to blame, and even if it's blaming others. So that positive feeling contributes to a sense of a team, a sense of working together, and it can really, really deliver powerful results.
So you've stayed with your current company for over a decade, which, not to date you, but that means a lot in today's marketplace. What are the key attributes of the company culture that you think would make you want to stay that long and invest that much time into an organization?
That's a good question. I ask that myself sometimes. No, all joking aside, really it's the Leviton culture. Leviton is privately owned. It's been privately owned for over 100 years. It was started with a cart selling lamp holders in Brooklyn. And Leviton, as a company, really values their employees. So no, I heard the panelists earlier today, we're facing out, new challenges and mitigated challenges, and companies are having to cut costs. And I'm proud to say that Leviton has not done any layoffs. They've not done any furloughs, and they're really taking care of their employees and made it possible for us to work remotely. We also have a great work-life balance, and that's not to be underestimated, especially for working moms. And I really feel good about it when I'm assigning work, that I'm able to have my team work hard, deliver results, but at the end of the day, be able to go and be with their family. And I think that's really important, especially for female leaders and females in general. And as overall also, just kind of on me personally, I've been promoted 3 times at Leviton. I've gotten the chance to work in different departments: logistics, planning, business analytics and simulation. And I've gotten to lead some really exciting projects that are cross-functional, that are not just within the supply chain, and manage diverse backgrounds, diverse interests, and diverse skill sets. So the work has kept me very interested, and one of the reasons that I've stayed. And I think finally, as my husband reminds me on a daily basis, I'm married to a diehard Long Islander who refuses to leave. So that may have something to do with it too.
Sometimes that's what it is, right? Thank you so much. And now finally we go to Patty in sunny Arizona. I hope it's sunny today. Patty, interesting word you chose. How is that descriptive of your leadership journey?
So I chose the word invested, and what that really means to me is a couple things. First, whether it's a 6-month project, a 10-year strategy, or a 1-hour meeting, if I'm showing up and putting my time against that, I'm 100% present. I have some experience to bring to the table there to affect the quality of the outcome, and I'm going to do that if I'm involved. The other side of invested for me is invested in the people. So you have to make the time to get to know the people in your organization, to bring relationships beyond the transactional. And I think if you are invested in both of the ways I talked about, in the people as well as the work, understanding the work, recognizing the work, knowing what it takes, knowing what to ask for, I think you put those 2 things together and you've built a foundation of trust in the organization where you can set strategic direction and people follow you because you know the work. You get people's support because they know you have their back, and it allows them to be more courageous in their individual roles. And it's much easier to be an inclusive leader then, because it's very, very authentic, because you are invested in the business and the people, and can speak from a place that's a lot of truth. I will give two quick examples on invested in my leadership journey. The first was very, very early on in my career. I was living overseas and I was in a sales role. And I did not like the role. I did not like being a sales rep. But I came in every day with something to give and something to learn. And I was invested in that, even though I wasn't very good at it. Let's be completely clear. In less than a year, my managing director asked me to start a spin-off company for them. So I was 25, looking for office space, building a business plan, and figuring out who I was going to hire. But I think it was because, not because I was good at sales, but because I was invested in, the outcome of the company and that role. Then fast forward as I moved into the role that I'm in now, and you mentioned earlier, I did a short stint as an HR director and then was asked to take the logistics role. So I didn't grow up in the logistics business. I didn't know the people, and I didn't know the business. So what did I do? I invested in getting to know the people personally. I rolled up my sleeves and started to really understand the work, ask the questions, recognize the experts, make them feel good about the years that they've spent in the business and that they could teach me. And I tried to figure out what I could give to that as well. So I knew the customers really well, so I could remove obstacles. I come from a financial analysis background. That was not this team's strength. So I brought that skill to the table. So I threw myself in. I invested really hard and really heavy on the work side and the people side. And 12 years later, we're $500 million business with 200 people, which is 3 times what it was when I started. So those are my examples of invested.
Amazing. Such a great roadmap for growing your career. That's very inspirational. The next question I wanted to ask is around succession planning. We talk a lot about this, in our daily corporate lives, but for you, it has a special, deeper meaning, doesn't it? So can you talk about to us about the legacy you're building at G3?
Yes. So what Elena is referring to is I'm actually leaving G3 at the end of the year purposefully to hopefully take a different journey, an encore decade is what I'm calling it. So for me, when I think about legacy, and it's kind of a weird and scary word a little bit, but when I first walked into the role that I'm in now, there was not the people, process, or technology to ultimately achieve what we needed as a business, nor was there a strategic plan. So I've spent my time building all of that along with my team. And so for me, and I have lots of confidence that this legacy will exist, for me, it's about, is that organization strong enough, which has a lot to do with succession planning, to deliver the growth in the next 10 years that we need to, while improving the capabilities over time to over deliver for our customers and to make the jobs internally more interesting for people over time. And so that's what I hope happens. That's what I expect to happen. I think everything's in place to make that happen. And so the question is probably, why do I feel that way? And for me, that really comes back to how I view HR as a discipline, succession planning, people planning, organizational design, organizational development. For me, that is a core part of what I do every day. And what I work to do is make sure that that is a core part of all leaders in my organization. So if a team leader has an open position, are they thinking about, how do I hire someone better than myself? If you've got a manager where something isn't working, are they figuring out how to solve it? Are they coming up with where they're short on capacity or where they don't have the right capability? And are they coming up with designs that could help influence that? So succession planning to me is about bringing the people and organizational part of the conversation to be a core part of what you do from a business perspective every single day. And so I think that brings the depth of the organization that you need to create a strong foundation. And I just want to comment specifically on women and men on this discussion as well, because I think it's important. So lots of folks ask me, how do you bring more females into the organization? What is the secret sauce? How does that happen as a female leader? And frankly, I think the law of numbers works. So you need to hire the female in a leadership role, and their network will hire more women over time than it will hire, right? The other gender. And that just happens. I've seen it happen. So my first hire in this role 13 years ago was a female. I don't have data, but I know she's brought in more females over time that have ascended to leadership roles over time. And so I think that is incredibly important. And then on the male side of things, as we think about succession, as we think about culture, et cetera, I hope, that the men who are leaders in my organization and in my organization just generally, they over time have become much more comfortable being their authentic selves when they need to be vulnerable about something, when they need to ask for help about something. They are very comfortable talking about balance and asking for balance in their own lives. They're very comfortable being empathetic. They're fantastic leaders and managers and they run the business and all those things. But I believe that the culture we've created has helped them, lean in more on some of the traits that may be more traditionally female. And I think that that's incredibly important as part of the entire, the entire diversity discussion, solution, equality discussion, et cetera, is to make sure that men are leaning in as well.
Great, thank you. Now, Patty, you stayed with G3 for a significant chunk of time as well, helping, I'm sure, shape some of the policies and procedures. So I'm going to ask you a question that we actually got from our own organization as we were preparing for this conversation, specifically from some of the junior folks, women on our team, and they were basically asking, so how can we as employees extend these, encourage our employer and extend these remote privileges or, support work-life balance and this remote culture when the pandemic is over?
I think it's a great question, but I'm not going to answer it from a policy and procedure perspective. I'm going to answer it from a culture perspective, because I think if you build culture on policies and procedures, you haven't built a culture at all. I think the culture you build affects the policies and procedures. And so I'm going to talk about it that way. So the bit of advice that I would give everyone, men, women, it doesn't matter, is have a relationship with the person that you report to that gets you comfortable enough saying, I'm going to coach soccer this fall. I'm leaving on Wednesday at 4 o'clock every week. My calendar's going to be blocked. Be comfortable having that conversation and be comfortable having it beyond your leader, with your peers, with other people. We are all professionals. We know how to manage our work. If we don't get our work done, people know how to manage us out. And so I think you need to have the confidence to create the culture around you individually that will grow to others, that truly reflects how you show up as your best self, both at work and at home. And a lot of that has to do with time boundaries, right? Removing traditional time boundaries or traditional where you work boundaries. So I think that conversation is incredibly important. And lots of people are probably saying, holy cow, I don't have that relationship with my boss. I could never say that. And I will be ostracized, right? I was listening to a podcast this morning. This was just random coincidence. And it was a professor from Purdue on a Harvard Business Review podcast. And she said that before the pandemic and during the pandemic, they interview both managers and employees about how open is the manager to supporting balance. 100% of managers said they are good at it and they support it. 50% of employees said their managers are good at it and support it. So what I will tell you is people in leadership positions now know, not just because of the pandemic, but they recognize that it is socially unacceptable not to be supportive of work-life balance. And so don't assume, right, that they are going to say no, that they are going to ostracize you. And quite frankly, if they do, I think the shame ultimately is going to be on them. Not 100% of the time, but I think you go in with that expectation. My last piece here, and I have to say this because I think this is so incredibly important, is when we talk about balance, men in the organizations need balance too. So find the man in the organization who's leaving every Wednesday at 4 o'clock to go and coach soccer, and make sure that they are talking about it as well. They are blocking their calendar and they are talking about how they're managing their life in order to create the balance that they need personally. And make sure that if you have male employees eligible for paternity leave, that they take paternity leave. I think that is the great equalizer in a word, paternity leave next to maternity leave. It's no longer a stigma that just women take leave after a child. The more we can support those types of things and bring men into doing the same things that women are doing, from a family perspective, a life perspective, a balance perspective, the more powerful it will be in total.
Sounds amazing. Now I'm going to switch gears just a little bit and just go around the Zoom and talk a little bit about networking. You know, up to this point, or up to February or March, anytime anybody would talk about how you grow in your role, in your career, networking would come up, you know, in person, in your company, outside the company, at all these events that people would encourage us to attend. Find a coach, find a mentor within your company. All of these things are just kind of been ripped away from us right now, right? And so we get this question from our own team. I get this question from myself. How do we do this, right? Like in this new reality where we can't see each other face to face, we can't go to a networking event, and Zoom is, you know, we're doing okay. Obviously, we weren't doing very well in the beginning of this call, but we're doing okay now. But this is not exactly the same thing. So I want to go quickly around the room and see if you guys have any advice on how do you network in these days and how do you look for these coaches. So Dima, if you want to kick us off again, that would be great.
Sure. I think for me personally, I actually have found that this has been helpful, being in these environments where we can actually get some one-on-one time with undivided attention. Being able to schedule meetings within your organization, clear 30-minute window or 15-minute window where you've got a specific topic that you can speak to. But I really think it's important to lean into your existing network and have those conversations, whether it's about your career, internal progress within your role, et cetera, to really ask the questions, you know, to that person, but also who in your network would you recommend me speaking to? Who could you introduce me to that could potentially give me better insight or give me direction and what I'm looking for? Or is there somebody else in a different organization, let's say we're talking about sales, that you know, you think could benefit from this? So starting a business, you know, you're kind of on your own, you're not looking internally, but really how do you grow your network? And part of that is continuing to push on your existing network to get those introductions and ask for the time. And I actually think people are more willing today to schedule those meetings than they may have been before, because, you know, they're already confined to their jobs between, you know, the hours of 9 to 5, and you have to look for their after hours, which is a tough ask when you've got other things going on. So I would not shy away for asking for a meeting, even with, you know, your direct manager, other people within the organization, and ask for those introductions, because I think it will provide more benefit than you may have imagined prior.
Great, thank you. Anita, any thoughts on remote networking and mentors?
I think she might have fallen off, Elena. She's trying to get back on, so let's jump through to someone else.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, didn't see that. Yeah, let's just go to Anya then in New York.
Well, sure. I mean, in a normal year, I find supply chain conferences like CSCMP, which is the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals, to be immensely helpful in networking and meeting people in the industry, people, suppliers, providers, customers, but also building out your network. I did attend it via Zoom. It was a little bit tricky this year because I think we missed out on some of the after session networking events, which I find to be the most helpful. But in the remote world, to me, it's incredibly important to have a mentor within the organization that you can reach out to and go to when you need advice. You really should have that one person that how do I manage this situation? How do I deal with this person, or that person that can advise you on it. And also it's important to be your own best salesman. I think we don't do that enough as women. No one can sell you better than you can. No one knows your brand better than you can. And you got to speak up and be noticed and be heard, participate. In the remote world, that means your mic should work, because if your mic doesn't work, you're not in the meeting. And if you can, sometimes it's difficult to hop on the video calls because we don't always have, sometimes we're in our sweats and we don't always have our hair or makeup done perfectly, but it's important to be on video and be seen and be heard. And when you're selling yourself, that could be on LinkedIn or professional Slack groups, or internally to your company. Again, just try to participate, present your results, and be seen and be heard. Sell yourself.
Sounds good. Thank you. Anita, I see you're back on. Awesome. Same question. Any thoughts on networking, mentors, coaches, any personal success?
Sure, yeah. And sorry, I had a power shut down all of a sudden. So, and I am sorry if I repeat what Dima or Anya said, but yeah, I completely agree that this is a very important topic, and especially in the era that we are in, we got to get creative about how we network. Fortunately, I've had a good base of mentors who've helped raise me up so far. And when I think about online networking, LinkedIn seems like the best place that I've seen most successes with people reaching out, or, one thing I've realized is there's a lot of people who are willing to help. We just need to ask. And as women, we hesitate to ask. And I think if we can change that mindset, I'm going to say this, hope it doesn't sound awkward. It's almost like online dating, but not as exciting as online dating. But you have some needs from a career growth standpoint. You're trying to figure out who that person is that can help you with that. So stay focused on what you want to get out of your career. I heard the last part of what Anya said. Yeah, you are your best critic, your best marketer. You really need to figure out what is it that you want out of your life. And if that's something you're going after, try to stay focused. But yeah, can't emphasize enough about networking, though. It's always great to learn about a new culture, new different things that help you. We're currently running a bid in Latin America. I almost have a translator, but I had to create that relationship with her to be, very comfortable and be able to execute a very successful Latin American bid. So I think it helps you from a work, but also from a career and moving forward with results. Networking is the way. Go slow to go fast is what I call it.
Thank you.
That's all I had.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. And Patty, I bet you find yourself on the flip side of this a lot when you are coaching and you're mentoring. Care to share any success stories on that end?
Sure, I will. I want to share one quick thing on networking, and then I'll do the mentor piece. So I completely agree with Anita. I have found during COVID, people more gracious and generous with their time than before, because 30 minutes on a Zoom feels easy and natural to people, whereas before it was this meeting and are we going to talk on the phone? I don't know. So for me, it has been super easy to keep networking. I often find people go to events and people are thinking networking's done because we don't have events, but it's the follow-up after the events that is the true networking piece of it. And I think the follow-up is easier now than it was before to stay connected with people, because everybody is doing so much remotely. So I would encourage folks to think of it as a new platform instead of an obstacle. From a mentor perspective, I have mentored lots of people, but I'm actually going to answer the question more as a mentee. So one of my most powerful group of mentors over time has been my female professional friends. So as they have ascended in organizations, and lots of them are in HR, so I have a benefit of them being technically trained, right, to give me feedback. But from a friend perspective, I would encourage you to look at that network, especially as you ascend, as being one of the best mentor groups you can find, because they will tell it to you like it is. And they will use vocabulary and allow you to laugh about it when you need really hard coaching or you need to be pushed to go after an opportunity. So that has been one of the, later in my career, probably the strongest network for sure, and mentor group that I've used. And I think it can be really powerful if you think of it that way.
Sounds amazing. Thank you. Awesome conversation. We're coming up on time. So last question around the Zoom, and it's kind of similar to what Marissa asked in the first panel, but I think it's so impactful. Basically, I think everybody who's listening wants to know, how did you do it? Like at which point did you know, I can do this, I'm good enough, I'm great, and I can do it? So basically, whatever you think you yourself back then in the beginning of a career would want to hear on a Zoom like this, would love to hear those parting thoughts from you. And Dima, we'll start with you again. Thank you.
I stumbled upon this industry. It was not an industry I was familiar with by any means. But when I got into it, I started to get passionate about the industry and what we were trying to solve. I think that, do something you're passionate about. If you're in a role you're not excited about, explore what other opportunities may be within your organization or another organization. But you should be excited. You should be excited to get to work, excited to do something that you could see yourself growing into as a career. I think for me, I had an opportunity to start with early stage companies where I had the ability to work cross-functionally and try different roles and take initiative on different projects that weren't necessarily like siloed in one particular role. And that gave me the opportunity to really figure out what I wanted to do and push to get there. So if you're in that point in your career and you're not sure, like, is this for me? Am I excited? Get out there, take some risks, explore what else is, in that company. And that's part of having those conversations and networking and exploring. But don't just sit there and hope for it to change or be handed to you. You really have to work for it and push to achieve that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Anita, we'll go to you now.
Awesome. Thank you, Elena. I think if I had to, listen to this a few years ago, I wish somebody had told me never give up. And they also had told all the men around the room to never let me give up, right? So to all the men around the room today, if there are any, I'm telling you, never let her give up. And to all the women, never give up. I definitely would like to share a few tips that I picked along the way. One, be vulnerable, be yourself. There's no shame in being yourself. You don't have to be perfect. I think this was said, and you are absolutely enough for the job that you're doing or you're aspiring to do. Take credit for your work is another big one on my list always. We hesitate. It's always, as women, we are like, oh, this person helped me do it. No, you were the primary person. The reason why this is done today is because of you. So stand there in the room and proudly take credit for it. The third piece is own your well-being. There's so much happening around. We have a pandemic, racial injustice, once in a lifetime election, like I call it. And your life is happening on a day-to-day basis. So there's so much around you that you need to take care of and people around you. So own that. Show up every day, whatever those challenges are. Don't give up. Again, show up every day with a smile and an attitude that you can do it. And the last one I had is enjoy the journey. You get one life, what you're passionate about. If you don't like this, quit and do something that you love. This here said it, we love our jobs. We are happy that we are doing what we are doing, but we all should be there. There's no reason why we shouldn't be there. We're all very fortunate in our mothers, aunts, grandmas, whoever, in our lives, the women who have lived before us. So let's make this better for the next generation. something. These were some, yeah, I wish I needed a lot of advice. You can see, Alina. So I think that's really what I would say.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. Anya, what are your parting thoughts for us?
Well, to echo a lot of the commentary that was made by the panelists, and it kind of something that I struggle with and try to overcome is you're worthy, and even if you know 50% of the job, you can go for it, and you will learn the rest when you're there. I think Jackie in the previous panel said 25%.
Yes.
I'd feel a little bit more comfortable with 50, but I think that's what we do as women is we want to be 100% ready, 100% right, and that's not what men do. They typically apply for a job if they have 50% of the application. So I like that message of you are ready, you are worthy of it. And then when you do get the role, never stop learning. I think that's a concept that I always apply on my daily basis, mostly because I'm a nerd and I enjoy learning. But it never stop learning because it keeps you fresh and it keeps you as a leader in your industry.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Patty.
Okay, so there's two phrases that encompass what everybody else has already said that I love. One is you are enough, just like you are right now, you are enough. The other one is be brave, not perfect. I think that's incredibly powerful. And what I'll leave folks with is what I wish I had known in the 15-year-old Patty, or pick whatever, many years ago Patty you want. So I think I really started to excel as a leader when I had gone through sort of Gallup Strengths Finder or Belbin team roles or 5 Dynamics, some of these sort of, personality, if you want to call them personality type of things. When I started to get a vocabulary and be proud of my strengths and be able to laugh and display my weaknesses and recognize them openly. And so I think if we could give every 15-year-old girl the vocabulary to talk about what their strengths are and to be comfortable that they have weaknesses and opportunities, that is what I would give everyone. So for those of you that are listening, if you aren't comfortable talking about your 3 strengths in a 1-word descriptor, go figure out what those are and be super proud of them.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you to all the panelists. I'm throwing it back to Emily to wrap us up, and we're almost on time.
You guys were awesome, very authentic. The transparency was fantastic. Thank you guys so much. For me specifically, I always listen to these things and I try to take away, which I'm hoping the whole audience is doing too. But I think it's very important, sell yourself. No one knows your brand like you do. That's really important. Take credit for your work. That's such a crucial thing here, I think, especially in an environment like our own where it's, people working together, but who's really doing the work. Never stop learning. I love that. And then the most important thing I took away specifically was, make time to make the interactions impactful. I think right now we're all trying to stay connected. We're all trying to be part of the group, but we can't inspire our team or we can't be inspired if we're not connected. So hopefully that's what these 2 panels did today. Hopefully everyone feels really inspired. We're so thankful. You guys did an awesome job. The first panel is fantastic as well. So, if anyone has questions or have any comments, and again, thank you everyone for being very patient with us as we try to work through these Zoom calls. We're still learning. We're still trying to navigate through this. So hopefully everyone has a fantastic day, and thank you guys again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.